Welcome back to Dirt Road Cred Jeep News. In today's episode, we're talking about the 2026 Gladiator, a brand new vehicle launched by Jeep, a recall affecting close to 80,000 Jeeps, as well as what's going on with the 4xe. As we start this video, we wanted to just thank all of you guys for stopping by the Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. We listened to you, and pink Dirt Road Cred high power floor lights are available right now for pre-order. Shipping in 1 to 2 weeks for the front kits and the full 4-door kits. They are absolutely awesome. If you've been looking for that bubblegum hot pink, Ryan's got a set in his Jeep.
They look good.
And they do look good. No, it's a really bright pink. So if you guys go on the website, they will be shipping in 1 to 2 weeks. Thanks for everyone for stopping by. But pink, ready to go. So if you use it as an accent color, you're ready to roll. But let's get into the video now. We just wanted to talk about that in the beginning. Let's talk about some things because Jeep news has been a little bit lacking, and I think there's a few reasons for that. The biggest reason, I would say, is because the corporate folks at Jeep decided not to invite us YouTube influencers to that announcement. So apparently that announcement that they were talking about the Hemis and Gladiators, that was YouTubers in there, but not Dirt Road Cred, because sometimes we say things that that Jeep doesn't like, but needs to be told. So right away, we're like, where is all this news? You know, no 2026 Wrangler news. You can order one right now. Pricing's available. Everything's out. So if you guys are looking to do one, call Anthony down at Sands Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, and he'll give you a great deal. But nothing new on the Wrangler. I mean, we've been waiting to see what colors are coming out. All the existing colors are still there. The rumor mill is, if you guys have been waiting, that Purple Rain will be coming out probably later this year. If I had to guess, probably around the same time as maybe the Detroit Auto Show. That might be good timing for that. And then the second rumor is that Goldilocks is not going to be here for quite some time. Like, why? You know, it upsets me. That was a color we were hoping to order, but it is making me rethink some things right now because currently I don't have a personal Wrangler, so curious on what to do. But nothing else on the Wrangler at the moment. I did get a couple texts from Anthony down at Sands, and he was saying that the 2026 Gladiator, he is expecting to start getting some more news here shortly. Last time we spoke about when the Wrangler shift was, he said he saw a lot of changes on the back end. So trims were going away, options were going away, and that's normally an indication that the Gladiator or a trim or a model year will be coming back out. He said that's happening right now for the Gladiator. So there's different models going away, different trims going away, and I would think that within, what was that the last time we talked? Maybe 3 to 4 weeks? Something like that. The Gladiator might take a little bit more time, but I would say that that probably will be soon. He said another thing interesting to me on text, the High Tide you can't order again. So it's like as soon as we talk about this really cool trim, they just take it away. But if you guys have been looking for one, which I know we saw a bunch down at Smoky Mountain, it's a fabulous trim. But 2026 Gladiators, if you guys have been waiting, I would expect it in the next month. But if it's anything like the Wrangler, no new colors, no new options, nothing really changing for that. So we'll have to wait and see. As soon as they are available to order, we'll of course get all the pricing structure, figure all that out, and let you guys know. Now with that, so we got some other Jeep news. There was a recall that was just posted on the forums, and then it was also posted online. It was something upwards of almost 80,000 Jeep Wrangler vehicles could be affected. And from what Josh was talking to me down at Great Smoky Mountain, it's something to do with a pinched wire that could disable a TPMS light from displaying up on the dash. At least that's what he said. I didn't dive too much into the article there, but I'm sure you can go on the NHTSA website, type in your VIN, and see if your vehicle is involved with it. I'd imagine they'll have a fix pretty soon, but something to do with the light displaying on the dash. So I'm curious about that because my dad has a 22. I had a 22. That was probably like the last model year of Wrangler and Gladiator that you could really option anything out. So I'm curious of what's going on, if it's like a major problem or if this is just something that it's not going to be too big of a deal. But either way, something to take note of. If you have a 22, definitely get your VIN checked out and see if that's going on with yours. So the vehicle that was released by Jeep, we were talking about it. Oh my gosh, what's it going to be? We're seeing all this marketing push for like the original influencer. This vehicle doesn't need marketing, like all this badass stuff. And then it's like this Jeep Cherokee. So that's what came out, the 2026. It like rolls out and they're having like a hip hop party somewhere in like Detroit or New York City. If you took the nameplate off of that thing and put like Toyota, Honda, like it's just, you guys can let me know in the comments down below. But personally, they had all of this heritage to go off of, all of the boxiness of the Cherokee, all of these really neat things going on, and I understand what they're trying to do, make it more fuel economy, make more, aerodynamics, make it appeal to a different crowd, But the Cherokee, if you guys would just make us a square headlight, boxy Cherokee with an easygoing engine in there, it would sell off the shelves. People resonate with the original Cherokee. I owned an '01. I remember seeing so many of them as a kid. The back seats were incredibly comfortable. They were dead nuts reliable, and just an awesome four-door SUV. It really changed, I would say, the industry when it came to SUVs that were actually capable of going off-road. But that was released. It apparently is a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder and a hybrid transmission with 2 electric motors, 500 miles per tank, which that's impressive. I mean, that's a pretty good amount of mileage, but I mean, just not a ton going on with it that really blew us out of the water. Apparently, one of the individuals we talked to, they actually asked for their Cherokee and used it in the New York City debut. So they were trying to get old Cherokees to have there at the launch. So that was pretty cool, but I have a feeling that's why we're not seeing as much on the 26 Wrangler and the 26 Gladiators, because they do have these other product launches. I would argue that the Wrangler would be a little bit more important than the Cherokee, but in other viewers' minds, I'm not sure. Maybe the Cherokee sells a lot more. Maybe the Cherokee is a more popular vehicle and is an easier kind of audience group to tap into than the Wrangler market. But I think that's why we're not seeing any ads, any real big statements from Jeep about that. Plus, they're leaving it just ambiguous with these statements about the Gladiator. But if I had to guess, it's because the 2026 Cherokee was launched and the orders are pretty much open right now, that's why we're not seeing it on the Wrangler or the Gladiator. I think probably the next thing is something that I would say we saw coming a little bit, especially after some new legislation was released, that the EV tax credit is going away September 1st. I don't want to be mistaken, but that credit, depending on what vehicle you purchase, could be up to $7,500 off when it comes to your federal liability for taxes. Now, a little bit of backstory about myself, because everyone thinks that I'm just this big EV and 4xe hater. Ryan, I actually owned an EV.
Get out.
You remember when I owned a Mustang Mach-E.
That was nice.
During COVID. It was a fun vehicle. It was actually funny because one of the managers there where we worked, he was a good buddy of ours, and I would drive to work every day. We would plug it in and then drive home. So basically I would just power it, plug it in every day, and get free electricity. They used to call me the power pirate for stealing power. So that was fun though. I mean, everyone thinks I just hate them. I enjoyed the heck out of that vehicle. You get a little bit of range anxiety, but for my commute to work for the few months that I owned it, it was a terrific vehicle. I was in that bracket where I could actually utilize that $7,500 tax credit. And during that time, you could resell them for more than MSRP. So I don't want to go too far into my story, but I enjoyed that for when I had it. And I think at a lower price point, I, as well as many Americans, might keep one in their fleet just to transport back and forth to work or do those boring tasks. Drive to Costco, drive to the mall, drive to these places, do it in an EV, and then charge it for cheaper when you get home. But with all this being said, with that tax credit going away, a lot of companies are starting to rethink their stance on EV if they can pivot onto more ICE or gasoline hybrid powered engines. I know just recently an article from Slate that $30,000 or less truck, they're starting to have more issues because with that tax credit going away, now you've got a $30-some thousand bare bones crank window, no radio truck. It's starting to be a little bit much, and it's a 2-wheel drive truck. All of this leads us into Stellantis releasing an article that said they may be pivoting a little bit. We got an article sent from Anthony, and they are talking about just addressing the current consumer culture and figuring out where they need to go. Now, remember, Stellantis runs electric vehicles such as the Wagoneer S, the Dodge Charger Daytona, and then hybrid plug-in vehicles such as Jeep Wrangler 4xe and the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. So they do have quite a bit in their fleet, and then they do have an upcoming vehicle called the Jeep Recon that I'm just not sure is what's going to happen with all of this. There was a quote from last year that the 2025 Gladiator was supposed to receive the 4xe. Heck, that big plug-in box on the back, that big knockout, I saw a Dodge Ram, and that's actually a couple plugs back there, and it's the same size. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Maybe they were prepping for it, and now it's not going to come true. But I would say that removing that $7,500 potential tax credit for the purchase of a new vehicle like that really does make you think that you might not want to spend that much on this. Ryan and I were just talking off camera, and I think perhaps some of the reason the 4xe vehicles were that expensive is because you could kind of go on the curtails or the little tails of that $7,500 discount and say, well, yeah, it's $60,000, but you get $7,500 off. when in the whole time Jeep is still getting that full dollar amount. So I would say that in the future here, we can already see the statements being made by the new CEO, by the new Jeep North American CEO and director, that it might not be as big of a push with the 4xe, and it might be shelved. I mean, that's what Ryan was saying off camera. Maybe they'll just put it up on the shelf for a little while, revisit it once tech gets a little bit better, or maybe we'll all be wrong and they'll drop.
Or they'll do the 4xe too, but they have to put it at the price point that $7,500 would have given them. So
and I don't know if they can.
At 43, which I don't think they can.
If they could get it for 43 for a plug-in hybrid 4xe, and I'm not knocking 4xes because I did look up some statistics. I think the number one selling SUV in the US is the Jeep Wrangler 4xe. So people are into it. They are buying it for the top and doors off ability, but with that tax credit going away, I think that's definitely a lot of things for people to consider. One part of that new legislation, though, for depending on your household, and you have to consult with someone, but I believe that all 2025 and newer US-made vehicles under $80,000, do not quote me on any of this, you can write off the interest in your loan. So you can actually write it off as a deduction, which I thought was pretty neat because we just bought a 2025 and Jeep didn't give it to us for free. So maybe we can write off some of the interest on that. But I do think that they are going to need to pivot a little bit. Much like we pivot as a small business, I think Jeep as a big business is seeing what's going on with the culture in some aspects besides the Cherokee. And they might have to pivot a little bit into these more internal combustion engines. And maybe that's why we're seeing all these rumors about V8 and Hemi powers flying around, because they will need to make a change if that audience base can't afford that without the tax credit. I think it's a huge change. So in kind of the closing talks here, we did see some spy shots of the Jeep Gladiator as a 4xe. It was kind of a mocked up image with the plug in the front there. So I would say that they might have too much invested in this thing to be able to just shelf it. So they might have to release it and just see what comes out with it, because no one was expecting from the corporate side that that tax incentive was going away. I'm sure in the back of their brains, someone was like, this could happen and we need to be prepared for it. But at the price points, I don't know if people would be into it for a $60,000, $70,000 Gladiator with a plug-in hybrid unless the range was extended or it had a ton of new features. But I don't know. Let us know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on the 4xe, especially the future one without the tax credit, what the price point would need to be, or that Recon. What would you guys need to see that to be interested in something like that? I think personally we're going to go back to, keep it simple, stupid. That's the KISS method. I think for a long time that has been gone from the automotive industry. I think it's been gone in a lot of cultural things too, just keeping things simple, listening to your audience and talking to the people that are purchasing and getting a good grasp of what's going on. That's what we need to get back to. And I think
like the Cracker Barrel logo that they just made.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Keep it simple and just destroy any value of anything. And apparently they're going back to the other logo. It's a lot of big companies do this stuff. And I think lately it hasn't been panning out too well. We can see a lot of other situations. You guys can fill in the blanks, but just leaving things the way they are or going back to the old school, I don't know why they're missing this marketing stance of the 80s and 90s culture is so huge right now. Pepsi's gone back to their original logo. Just, it's not that hard. I mean, we don't have to have 84 meetings and Teams calls set up to do this, but I don't want to go on a rant here, Ryan, because we can make a podcast about this. But yeah, Cracker Barrel, they caved within a week.
Yeah.
I think it was a week they caved on that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Jeep people need to do the same. Maybe we just need to, no more. Give us Hemis and give us diesels, and we will buy them. Well, guys, I think that's going to be a wrap for today in Jeep news. Obviously, we'll be thinking of some new content. If some big stuff comes out as we're meticulously making pink floor lights, we will be releasing that to you guys. What else do we got going on? Let's think. So we've got some cool stuff on the website. We've got some brand new merch, some t-shirts, some hats. Thank you to everyone that's been supporting for those. And we might have a giveaway next month too. So if you guys that have been wondering about some giveaways and when they're going to be next, we'll have, I think, a pretty cool one next month. More on that to come. But yeah, we've got some plans too. So I don't have a personal Jeep right now. We're working on Ryan's 2 doors in the shop. The 41's just about done. The Gladiator's next up to bat. So we actually just placed a pretty large order today on some cool things for that. Lift kit ideas, wheel ideas are flowing, and we think we have that pretty much nailed down. But if you guys are going to be in the area as well, at the end of September on the 27th, we will be at America's Most Wanted 4x4 Open House in Michigan. I know we've said it a lot, but those are our friends, and we would very much love to see you guys there, and I think you guys would enjoy the facility too. So be sure, if you have nothing on your calendars, it is on a Saturday, so take the drive out from a lot of the parts of the country. From us, it's about 8 hours, so 4 hours, 8 hours, it's worth the drive to see that, hang out with some good people, and then just really be in like a candy store for Jeeps. So either way though, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to pick up a pink set for your Jeep, I'm gonna try and list like all the names that have been texting and like emailing like who we want it, like, so it's ready to go. It's ready. Pre-orders are open, so 1 to 2 weeks for shipping, and we'll get them to your door. So thank you guys so much for watching, for all the support, and for everything that makes this channel possible. From Ryan behind the camera, me here talking to you, we want you to get out there and earn yours.